When I first decided to move to Rome at the age of 12, I was fully aware that what awaited me would prove to be a daunting task. Though the going was indeed rough, I was pleasantly surprised by the ease with which I managed to pick up certain Italian words and phrases. I had unwittingly stumbled across the basic concepts of a phenomenon known today as sound symbolism, a theory which states that each phoneme that makes up a word has meaning in and of itself. One of the first literary instances of such a phenomenon being recognized dates back to Plato's Cratylus, wherein the Greek philosopher Socrates lists a group of words containing the Greek letter rho, such as rain, to flow, and trichein, to run, as proof of the fact that this phoneme evokes movement. More than 2 millennia later, the French linguist Ferdinand de Saussure would deride this notion as fanciful. Astounded by Plato's assertion, de Saussure conjures up the example of a tree in order to demonstrate that our brains have merely been trained to associate a certain signifier or word, tree, with a specific signified or concept, that of a tall, leafy organism. However, in 1929, the Estonian psychologist Wolfgang Köhler published an experiment in which he showed a group of Spanish speakers the following images and asked them which of the two they would most associate to the name Maluma and which should instead be designated Takiti. It may not surprise you to find out that an overwhelming majority equated Maluma to the sinuous left-hand image and Takiti to the pointy right-hand image. Köhler's conviction would later be supported by the German linguist Hans Marchand, who is responsible for the first comprehensive dictionary of English phonemes. Phonemes are sounds or sound sequences that suggest a particular meaning, and examples of them include b and d, used at the end of words to express a dull impact, such as in club or tread. The aforementioned studies paved the way for American phonosemanticist Margaret Magnus to devise a more modern take on sound symbolism. According to Magnus, the transcendent qualities of sound symbolism stem from the inherent meaning of phonemes. Front vowels such as I inherently express the idea of inferiority, whereas back vowels such as A and O denote superiority. Furthermore, Magnus hints at the concept of synesthesia as being responsible for sound symbolism's universal reach. As a matter of fact, upon hearing certain phonemes, our various senses activate and unite, allowing us to physically visualize, touch, and even taste certain sounds. Poetry is sound symbolism's most humble servant, a medium used to unleash the inherent meanings hidden in phonemes. A poem is worthy of being defined a masterpiece only when its words combine seamlessly with odors, tastes, and mental images. In Giovanni Pascoli's work entitled L'Assiolo, the author exploits several rhetorical devices, such as onomatopoeias and alliteration. For example, the sentence "Sentivo un frufru fra le fratte" utilizes the phonemic cluster FR as a way of conveying the idea of a mysterious rustling. In The Raven, the American poet Edgar Allan Poe breaks down language barriers through his use of the anaphoras more and nevermore. They both contain a particular phoneme, or, which plays on the unique musicality of the English language in order to paint a gloomy and melancholic picture. Lastly, in his masterpiece L'Albatros, the famous poète maudit Charles Baudelaire is able to make his readers aware of the enormous burden he feels, thanks to the myriad of cacophonous consonances present in the poem, such as k and g. Our poor misunderstood poet conjures up the idea of a gauche and comic, clumsy and comical albatross, who is ridiculed by a group of jealous sailors. When it comes to sound symbolism in the field of advertising, suffice it to mention the naming consultants who were tasked with coming up with a catchy name for a mobile phone. Initially, one of them suggested strawberry, but since straw was considered to be a slow syllable, the team ultimately chose to call the phone BlackBerry, since research had shown that people associated the B sound with reliability and the short vowel sounds with speed. Language teaching is currently in the grips of a crisis, since every known method lacks a universal principle that can be applicable to individuals of all ages, genders, and cultural backgrounds. Having identified this transcendent quality in sound symbolism, I firmly believe it opportune to develop a language experiment based around this phenomenon. In my experiment, several Italian mother tongues were seated before 10 pairs of antithetical images. They were then asked to associate 10 words in English to one of the two images. Following each association, each participant was asked to specify whether or not they already knew the meaning of the English word. By adding this stipulation, words whose meanings were already known by a participant before said participant was subjected to the experiment were not taken into account when compiling the final results. Each word that was chosen is found in Hans Marchand's work, which we have previously mentioned. None of the 10 words are of Latin origin, so as to avoid any and all interferences with the participant's native tongue. Lastly, each word belongs to a different phonemic cluster. In light of the above, the following 10 words were chosen for the experiment: mutter, stomp, wobble, glisten, tumble, whirl, blast, growl, flutter, and dash. As you can see, the results attest to the seriousness of the experiment. Both the total percentage, 89.7%, and the individual scores of the participants are extremely positive. Furthermore, no notable gender-based discrepancies occurred, nor was the participants' level of English a determining factor in their final scores. These analyses constitute the final, overwhelming shred of proof in favor of sound symbolism's all-encompassing power. This phenomenon could one day help revolutionize an unimaginable number of sectors. It is therefore my wish that more and more people experiment with sound symbolism, thereby enhancing its potential. Phonemes are alive, and each one of them has an inherent message to convey. It is up to us to understand that message.